why study the cardiovascular system? Now, that's another duh question because it's right up there. Heart disease, cardiovascular disease is right up there, number one, as the cause of death. Cancer is number two, and it seems like they're doing this two-step. They keep dancing back and forth, but heart disease is right up there. Now, almost everybody you know probably has who is not on good nutritional supplementation is probably hypertensive, and that's probably the number one symptom of heart disease. Of course, cancer, strokes, lower respiratory problems, accidents, diabetes. Heart disease is the most important one, and this is not just an issue that we're concerned about for adults, but it's now affecting kids more and more and more. We're finding out that as doctors, pathologists go to the morgue and they dissect kids who died at 10 years, 8 years, they are finding accumulation of plaque in their arteries and their veins. Not a good thing, not a good way to start off life. And so it becomes of first importance for us to understand the basic principles where the cardiovascular system is concerned. And here's just a description of the cardiovascular system. The body system is, this system consists of heart, blood vessels, and blood. This system transports nutrients, waste products, gases, and hormones throughout the body and plays, mistake there, and plays an important role in immune responses and regulation of body temperature. Okay, that makes sense. There are four components usually of the cardiovascular system. Before I go on, we just want to take care of this topic and then move on. The lymphatic system is kind of like a supplementary system. It just takes excess fluid, excess fat, excess waste products that did not go into the veins after use, and it returns that to the heart. The lymphatic system plays a key part in some diseases, but it's also very, very important for us to understand how to keep the lymphatic system going, because if the lymphatic system is deficient or lacking, you could end up with accumulation of fluids in your extremities, in your feet especially, and it could also lead to the accumulation of toxins, because whenever fluid stays stagnant for too long, toxicity occurs, and that could be a problem. But we're not talking about the lymphatic system, we're talking about the cardiovascular system. Here's just a murky view of it. I think we'll try another one. Oops, what happened? In the wrong screen here, excuse me. Wow.
Sure.
Hang on, let me get this right first. Okay. Okay. There. What on earth happened? Sorry about that, folks. Can you see are you still seeing my screen?
It's starting to open up PowerPoint. Yeah, now there's PowerPoint, but it's not in slideshow view.
Okay. All right. Are you seeing it now?
Not quite yet.
Okay. I'll just wait for it. It's up right now.
I'll let you know as soon as it's in slideshow view for us.
Okay.
There we go. The joys of technology.
Yeah. Okay. Functions of the cardiovascular system. Okay. You can see that, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to breeze on to the next one because we have a lot to cover today. The notes, the handouts will be available afterwards. I wanted to mention here that the immune system, and I speak a lot about the immune system because that is probably your number one protection against disease, germs, and viruses. And about 15% of your immune system is in the blood, the circulatory system. And imagine that 70% is in the digestive system. We were not even taught this in medical school. Mm. All right, here's a nice view. Let's hope we can make sense of this. This is the circulatory system, okay? That's why it has blood in it, so that's the cardiovascular system. The heart is right here. The principal thing that heart does, and this is kind of summarizing what the slide you just saw 2 slides prior to this. In the digestive tract, food goes in. The circulatory system has to be available to pick up the digested food and deliver it all the way to the cells of the body, whether they be muscle cells, brain cells, heart cells. The waste products have to be sent via the urinary system outside. This also is a very important system because the respiratory system, oxygen has to come in and it has to be exchanged over here. If there's a disease of the respiratory system, that will impair the ability of the blood to take in oxygen. Now, let me just give you just to let you know how serious that is. If your brain cells, and of course your brain is the most important organ, if your brain cells are lacking in oxygen for more than 4 minutes, in some cases 7 minutes, for more than 4 minutes, let's leave it as 4 minutes, there will be irreversible damage to the brain. Now, in some cases, the body has been able to restore and regain function where that damage has happened, but in majority of cases, that damage is irreversible. And so it just shows that the cardiovascular system is really what helps to deliver the nutrients to the cells. If the cardiovascular system shuts down, if the heart shuts down, bye-bye, baby. You're going to ship your saddle home. That's just, that person's goose is cooked. So the cardiovascular system consists, of course, of, like we said, the heart, the blood vessels. Let's talk about the heart first, and then we'll go on to the next one. The human heart is the center, is right there in the center of the chest. Dr. Steve Sami did an excellent job on describing the various functions of the heart. Now, most of us know it primarily as a biophysical pump that it just pumps blood to the rest of the body. But it is also an endocrine gland, an electromagnetic transmitter. I never knew that before myself. And, of course, it has about 40,000 nerve cells. So it is very, very important for transmission of impulses and transmission of information as well as being a pump. So if anything goes wrong, these four problems, these four factors or four functions could be affected. All right. Let's talk about circulation. And again, you have the whole system of arteries and veins that go through the body. We just want to make sure we have an overall view of how the system works. Now, before I go on, I just want to mention quickly that the heart beats about between 50 and 90 beats a minute, and at rest. Now, if you're someone like Lance Armstrong, it beats about 32 per minute. I don't know how that's possible, but some people are like that. Okay. The key factors in the cardiovascular system, the most important factors, I'll chalk it down to about 3, but the 2 up there are the most important ones. The circulatory, the cellular or tissue perfusion simply means the amount of blood that actually gets to the cells of the body. Remember, we mentioned about the brain, if it lacks blood, if it lacks oxygen for 4 minutes, it's going to die. Other parts of the body, too, cannot last for too long without having blood supply, because blood supply brings with it the hormones, the oxygen, the nutrition, and all that. So this is key. I mean, this is really, in most disease conditions, if not all, in most disease conditions, part of the problem, or that caused the problem, part of what caused the problem was that there was a diminished blood flow to those regions or to that system that is diseased. And so it is critical, absolutely critical, that blood flow is maintained to those parts. And again, with age, we understand that after the age of 40, the overall tissue or cellular perfusion diminishes by about 5% every 10 years. So you have to be cognizant of that, because when you think about that, you're going to realize that, well, if you do other things, that jeopardize tissue perfusion, like you smoke, you drink, it's going to further make things worse. And, of course, stress plays a huge part. And we're going to talk about more emotional problems that can actually reduce tissue perfusion. But that is number one thing. That is absolutely number one thing. Number 2 thing, of course, is blood pressure. It's one thing to have blood getting to where it needs to get to. It's another thing entirely if the pressure is either too low or too high. As a matter of fact, they're quite connected. And, of course, the third, endothelial integrity, simply means the lining of the blood vessels. Our blood vessels have to be, the linings have to be smooth and without rough edges. Any rough edges could cause the aggregation of platelets. And platelets are another part of, like red blood cells and white blood cells. But platelets are important in the clotting system, the clotting cascade. If platelets are impeded in their flow through the lumen of the blood vessel, if they get caught anywhere in a crack, in a crevice, what happens is that they trigger off a whole process that brings in more platelets and brings in more cells, and eventually causes damage, further damage, and eventually could block the blood vessel. So we don't